Personnel recovery. Proceed to target. Recover the package and move to extract.
Got it.
Hello, welcome to What the Flick. I am Christy. This is Matt. This is Grae. This is Alonso. We are not real Navy SEALs talking about film today.
Speak for yourself, girl.
You don't know.
That was you jumping out of the plane at night and into the darkness.
It's a He-Man movie, so only the women saw it.
Right. And people clapped at our screening.
Alonso and I are both doing the bed routine this time.
Are you? Yes. But will you catch up with Active Valor?
I might for the podcast,
For
yeah.
professional edification.
I probably will.
Because you love
Wow,
freedom.
you guys are so enthusiastic.
If you love freedom, you should catch up with it. People were actually clapping at the end of our screening last night of Active Valor. Please explain what it's about.
They were clapping because this movie is America. 8 active duty Navy SEALs acting, which feels a lot more stilted than when they are kicking terrorists' butts.
They're gonna hit us at home.
Hey boys, we gotta roll!
Just for a minute, the silver forked sky.
Cleared move on target Alpha.
Lit you up like a star.
All boots are on the ground.
I will follow.
Be safe.
You know I will.
How can you stop this? I can't.
You live your life by a code. It's your shoreline. It's what guides you home. And trust me, you're always trying to get home.
So unfortunately, sometimes they talk.
Oh, God.
In between the first-person shooter experience, which is
Right.
every single action sequence here.
I was playing Call of Duty for 2 hours.
It's very stressful, but sometimes they talk, and it's like this guy going off on this big mission, and his wife is pregnant, and he's like, "I love you, baby." She's like, "I know, I love you too." It really is that stiff.
It is.
But when they have their meetings,
Actually, that might have been a little more. To tell you the truth.
I'm so melodramatic here.
You're overplaying it.
I know. I'm very method.
Dial it down,
I know.
Shelley Winters.
But there are scenes when they have their meetings, right? When they have their planning meetings before the mission. And that's the kind of conversation that they actually have with each other. And in those moments, it is totally naturalistic because we're watching them do what they do. And I was watching that thinking, this should be a TV show on like the History Channel or something like that, where you don't have to have backstories and characterization or plot. You just have, here's their mission, here's them being badasses carrying it out.
This is one of the first times I've ever watched a movie and been proud to be an American.
Because at least you know you're free.
Seriously, I do. I
Really?
do know I'm free because this
Okay.
movie. Well, what was it? It was a Navy recruitment video, and it tricked me into loving it. And I've never seen a movie really quite like it because it was so intense. They used a Canon like SLR camera with Panavision lenses, so they do really cool camera work in it. The explosions are off the hook, and I was totally sold. Like I wanted to take all my spare change in my pocket and like just send it to the military defense fund because it was really cool.
So it's a propagation film?
It is. It's propatainment. Yeah, no.
Propatainment.
And it is fun. And does the plot matter? No. Something to do with a smuggler, and then there's like a Muslim terrorist who's built a vest with all kind of explosive shit in it.
All you need to know is that there are terrorists in the world, and we're going to kill those terrorists, and that is it. We're going to blow them up, and we're going to do it from boat, from air, from
So
land.
this leads me to a question though, because it's doing like 8% on the tomato meter,
Yeah.
and of the reviews we have, most of the critics don't like it.
Liberal
And,
Hollywood.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, we're starting to see comments on the site that people are saying, "Oh, you don't get it. You're not supporting the troops." Like,
It's not. It's
but a lot of people are coming up and saying, you can't expect acting out of active duty soldiers, out of active duty SEALs. Like, and so I guess my question is, should they get a pass on the acting because?
Or should the filmmaker have known better and made a documentary instead? Or cast actors or something,
Here's why they should get a pass. only let them talk for probably 2% of the movie. It's 98% explosions and gunfire.
shootings,
They knew where the
noisy,
strength was.
yeah.
I think they were really fair to these guys and made them look as good as possible without going overboard. I mean,
And yet, in an effort to make us care about them and care about who lives and who dies and who's in danger, they tried to provide characterization. I admire the attempt. These guys aren't really up to it. And I was reading in the press notes, okay, they explained why do they want real Navy SEALs to do this film? They said because you know the second that you see one that it is real versus having like Ryan Reynolds go and learn how to fire a weapon or whatever. So they want the authenticity in that regard. Like you wouldn't hire people to play the Lakers. You would hire the Lakers and then teach them how to act.
Yeah.
I think Meta World Peace can do that. I think he's up for that. But it's I don't know. It's a fragmented kind of situation then because you want to care about them, but it's really laughable. I don't know.
But it makes me wonder if using active duty, like using the real guys, you think about when you hear people telling stories, veterans will tell you can spot the guys who are full of shit, because they tell the stories. They tell stories. They tell too many crazy stories. Where the real pros tend to kind of don't talk about it, right? And so it makes me wonder, like, can you really get those guys in a movie because they're kind of like quiet, like.
Quiet Beth. That's one of the lines is like, a man is dangerous when he can harness his emotions. That's one of the mantras in the film, right?
And it's like, there's a lot of weird voiceover that's like...
So much voiceover.
Meandering, and here's a poem from Tecumseh Sherman. I mean, I don't know what they were saying half of the time. But the thing is, though, I've never seen a movie, or recently at least, that made me grateful there are people fighting for our freedom. Ever.
Did it work for you?
It really worked. Right. By the end of the movie, I was like, they scroll names of soldiers that have died since 9/11 because the SEALs, I guess, have lost a lot of people. And I clapped. I had no issue clapping, and I was like waving a flag. I think it worked. I loved it. Liberal, Hollywood doesn't like it. Critics.
But you know what? I want to say this, and not having seen the movie, just as a general rule of thumb. You are allowed to not like this movie and still support the troops and still be a good American.
Yes.
And this is not like some sort of loyalty test that you have to pass.
Agreed.
You can believe in objectivism and still hate that awful Atlas Shrugged movie. Like the two are not hand in hand.
It's an analysis of a work of art, right? And an intended work of art, right? I like your idea that maybe it should have been a documentary. Because that would convey. Nobody would see it?
No, nobody watches
Is
that.
anybody going to go see this?
Yeah, this movie will be huge.
You think so?
Yes, I do.
Well,
I absolutely don't.
I bet you it does better in what they call flyover country than it does on the coasts. But I bet that they can, if they market it right, there is an audience for this movie. And it's the same audience that wouldn't see like Restrepo in a million years.
Or Helen Back Again.
Right, but they'll come see this.
I don't know about you, Grae, but some of the Midwest radio I'm doing, people have been asking about it. Like there definitely is an interest.
For sure.
In everywhere but LA and New York.
The thing, I think the timing.
It'll do well where Footloose did.
I think the timing is really ripe for this because we could use some sort of raised spirits because so many lousy things are happening, and it's like we've got an election year where everybody's upset about the war, and this movie is like, God bless America, 100%.
Drive got snubbed at the Oscars.
What they do is impressive. I believe it gets repetitive and kind of numbing. And it is sort of hard to follow at times as to how they are, where they are. I'm like, wait, how did they get to Mexico? That was confusing to me.
It's true. I don't know how they got anywhere, really. I just figure when in doubt, say it's by boat.
Okay.
All right, they're Navy.
There you go.
Right?
They
See, I know a little bit.
They sailed in. All right. So we're split on this.
Yes.
Your number is what?
I say this movie gets total 8. I thought it was so effective, and I loved the explosions, and I loved all of the passion that came out of seeing it.
I give it a 4. Because I found the action totally numbing, totally repetitive, and the dialogue is laughable. It's so stiff. It's like late night Skinamax. It's really stiff and stilted, and that took me out of it.
I know. I can't argue with it. I just think that everything
you didn't
else,
care.
everything else is so effective that it made me forget.
All right.
So.
That's a 6. But as you point out, it's like 8% on the tomato meter at this point.
Yeah.
Not 80. 8.
8 is number 8. And what has done better than that? Things that suck.
Yeah, things that suck. Transformers.
I'm curious to see how it ends up if it's number one this box office at the weekend.
And
box office.
I'm curious to see how much Navy recruitment goes up
I
after this.
actually will say I don't think it's going to be number one at the box office because that audience will be the people that are going to really be into that movie have a lot to do this weekend. They've got the Daytona 500 and the NBA All-Star Game.
Oh,
And they don't care about the
And
Oscars.
is it opening like super wide? I mean, is it?
Think so.
Is
Yeah,
I think it is.
Oh, okay.
All right, we'll find out. All right, thanks guys. Take care.
America!
Fuck yeah.